everyone. Welcome into the Her Hoop Stats podcast. It is Tuesday, January 20th. For those of you who perhaps were off of work, school, whatever your responsibilities may be on Monday, here's your reminder. It is, in fact, Tuesday.
Oh, good. Closer to the weekend. I will
Right.
take it. I will take
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. It's Jamie Steyer Johnson alongside, of course, Tyler DeLuca today. And yes, it's Tuesday. It's great that it is Tuesday. Zero complaints from either of us on that front, especially because the holiday yesterday meant that we got a whole bonus day of full day sports, full day basketball. And for once, because it's a weekday and not everyone is taking advantage of that, there wasn't competition for time slots. We had back to back games, absurdly good games. It was cinema for sure on many levels. So we're gonna get through kind of the day that was on Monday. So let's start right off the top with Tyler. I know this is the game that you have by far the most thoughts about, and so let's start there because it might take us a couple minutes here.
Sure.
Michigan Vandy, unbelievable game. Truly, it was, a lot of people kind of talking about it as a measuring stick game. It could not have been more useful in that sense, for sure. And I just don't think that it could have been a whole heck of a lot better for either team as far as getting them prepared for what their aspirations are going to be come March, just giving them an additional out of conference challenge, and really just to showcase the teams themselves for anyone who hasn't really seen either of them. But man, just a really thrilling basketball game.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't think I leave as someone who has been able to get eyes on both these teams. Like I think I was just reassured in where I stood on both of them. I think I left feeling, if I was to feel better about one, it would certainly be Vandy, who was able to pick up the win. If you told me that Vanderbilt was going to win this game and Michaela Blake's only had 14 points, I would be very confused. If I just looked at the box score after, I would have no idea how we got there. And to me, the first half especially was about outworking and out hustling in a lot of ways, just for loose balls or whatever it might be from Vanderbilt. The press and the defense I gave some troubles throughout, but I gotta talk about Aubrey Galvin, who to me I had a thought and I haven't been able to get out of my head. The playmaking is not there yet with this comp. But that's Georgia Amore regen right there, with the scoring. I obviously the size, it's easy to make the connection, but like the movement, there's the way she does her behind the back is literally the exact same animation that Georgia Amore does. Like it's the exact same thing. And I had the thought earlier in the season, and I was like, I don't want to like place this expectation too early. I think I'm comfortable to a degree. Again, it's levels to it. And we'll see what levels Galvin's able to reach over the course of her career and everything. But in the moment right now, I can't get it out of my head. 20 points, 7 of 14, 3 of 6 from 3. Some like big threes too, like that, like right on time threes. Played all 40 minutes of this game. There's certainly been a lot of talk about other freshmen across the country. And I'm not saying that Galvin is going to go and win National Freshman of the Year, or I'm not saying that, but in terms of being on the ladder and being in the conversation about the top freshmen that are making the most impactful moments and making impacts on top teams, she's right there with like the Jazzy Davidsons and Aaliyah Chavez of the world. And every time I watch her, I think I'm impressed by something different, and that has been super fun to watch. And again, for Vanderbilt as a whole, I'm just impressed by, again, this is not the Michaela Blake's game frankly, it felt like this is the game that Michaela Blake's has, and it's like, oh, okay, Vanderbilt finally drops their first game. And obviously a ton of foul trouble for Michaela Blake's never really able to get in rhythm. Didn't like shoot the ball super poorly, 5 of 14, so it's not like just some like just absolutely terrible shooting day or anything either. Like just was never able to get going. And to see Vanderbilt be able to survive that against the top 10 team just left me incredibly impressed with where they are and just again continue to. I feel like every game that goes by, the expectation just gets a little bit higher. And even though they're number 5, I still just don't feel like people are taking them in serious as like a
Mhm.
legit contender. Um, Obviously this weekend we'll learn a lot as they face South Carolina, but they've done everything right so far,
Mhm.
and so like I still just don't feel like Vanderbilt's getting the respect as a team that they deserve. And to me, maybe more than any other game so far this season, as a team, Vanderbilt left me impressed by how they were able to win this game.
And I think that part of it is when you have a team that has a very dominant player that
Mhm.
obviously generally a lot is relied upon to come from them. In this
Yeah,
case, Michaela Blake's, you think that, okay, the team goes as she goes.
sure.
And so there's a lot of times this thought and this strategy of, okay, we're going to try and shut her down and make the rest of them beat us. And the fact of the matter is that that's not really a good option with Vanderbilt because of exactly what you said. You have Aubrey Galvin, who is so capable already as a freshman. And then you have other players who have really stepped up in a big way. Justine Passat shooting
Mhm, mhm.
44% from three on volume,
Yeah.
133 attempts. Like that is massive to have her. And I mean, so tall, her length really is a huge boost on the defensive end of the court as well. They've got players that are able to come in and contribute off the bench. And just to your point on the comparison with Georgia Amore, I mean, statistically speaking, it's it's a really good one because if you look at their freshman year, Georgia Amore averages 11.8 points on 10 and a half field goal attempts per game. Aubrey Galvin, 11 and a half field goal attempts, 11 and a half points. Like very similar as far as volume
I'll
and as
take it.
far as points. Georgia shot a little bit better from three her freshman year, but that means that then Aubrey's shooting a little bit better on the interior.
Mhm.
And I mean, shoot, then if you want to get into really the playmaking and the all around impact, because especially as we discussed for this Vanderbilt team and truly for some of those Kentucky teams as well, it's very much not only about your scoring.
Sure.
It's perhaps more about the rest of it. Georgia Amore freshman year averages 4.6 assists per game, 3 turnovers. Aubrey Galvin currently sitting at 6.3 assists, 2.3 turnovers. More assists,
So,
fewer
okay, so
turnovers.
maybe I need to give Galvin a little bit more credit on the playmaking then, in
And
terms of the
here's
comparison.
the
Okay.
cap here.
Yeah.
Just under one steal per game, Georgia Amore freshman year. Aubrey Galvin, do you know top of your head where she's at in steals per game?
I don't. Not off the top of my head, not to the
Three.
T. That'll play.
3 steals per
I
game
knew it was good. Yeah, goodness.
as
See,
a
maybe I'm
freshman.
not giving enough credit here in terms of the trajectory, because if you put those two seasons back to back next to each other, I know which player I'm picking. Uh, I'm just
It's
saying.
it's wild. It really is. And it's not, especially given like I really was not watching a lot of early Kentucky, but obviously seeing Georgia Amore at where she ended up.
Mhm.
And I, now that you say it, certainly see the comparison, but especially just to say, this is your starting point. Like for Aubrey
Yeah.
Galvin, this is the starting point. And a lot of credit to Brittany Carper because before the season, that's the person that when we were talking Vandy, she was like,
Mhm.
I just want everyone to remember
Yeah.
that
'Cause
Aubrey Galvin, because she's from, not a super different area. And so she was
mhm.
just like, I've seen her play in high school. Like, this is a very underrated
Yeah,
player.
'cause not a highly ranked player, not
No.
not some, like, highly touted recruit, and yet here she is leading the way for this Vanderbilt team in this game. Like,
And
it's
so, I mean, really, as we know, point guard play is one of the most important things
mhm.
for any team that has those elite aspirations. And so, I mean, just to have someone coming in as a freshman,
Yeah.
you are anticipating road bumps in the road. You are
Mhm.
anticipating having some, struggles that you have to get over. It certainly has not been flawless.
Sure.
No one has a flawless season, point blank, period.
Mhm.
But as far as what you could hope to get night in and night out, I don't think that you could have really ever anticipated the level of production that
Yeah.
Vanderbilt's getting, and it's just raising their ceiling so much. And
Yeah.
I mean, raises the floor obviously as
Yeah,
well. When you
100%.
have an off night for Michaela Blake's as far as scoring goes,
Mhm.
and you're still coming out with a win against a really solid Michigan, especially that has so many great guards that are gonna make life really
Mhm.
difficult on the
Mhm.
perimeter, you still get it.
Yeah, I'm just again, I leave so impressed. Obviously, Galvin is the highlight, but I mean, even like the bigs for Vanderbilt, like the stat lines aren't like jumping off the screen to you or anything, but like Sasha Washington, just like I felt like he was just making like impactful plays, and
Mhm,
the fact she only had 6 rebounds feels wrong to me. Like just in terms of the impact, like I wasn't keeping count, but it felt like more, just in terms of like when watching that game live. And again, in an SEC where we've certainly seen deeper, just across the conference, like deeper years when it comes to the bigs of the
mhm,
SEC. Uh, these are more than serviceable bigs, in terms like they might not be the ones that like you're back to the basket, throwing them into post up every play, that we've seen in the SEC in years past. And even, I mean, to a degree with like Camille Pierre last year with Vanderbilt, it's different in the style of bigs, but I think it works so well with the style of guards that they have. Because I mean, when you have Michaela Blake's obviously, but even like Galvin as well, like these are players I want them shooting the ball, and so
mhm,
I'm totally okay with having players down low that to a degree can just feast off scraps
mhm,
and do a very very good job and an impactful job of doing that. So again, I just a game that this it felt like the game that I don't think if you're Michigan, you could ask for much more in terms of what you did with Michaela Blake's, or more, or even more so, maybe what Michaela Blake's kind of did to herself with the foul trouble. But like, regardless, in terms of production, holding Michaela Blake's to 14 points feels pretty dang good in
mhm.
comparison to what everybody else has been doing with Michaela Blake's. And so, uh, when it comes to Michigan, and to kind of flip over to the other side, I don't know exactly what to do with Michigan because they are equally the team in the first half as they are the second half. We've now seen it like it doesn't happen coincidentally against top 5 opponents twice in the same season, and it's just a coincidence where
Mhm.
you are just as much as great as it is that you've been able to battle back, and that is a legit positive thing that you have been able to battle back against these good teams. You are equally the team that went down and
Yeah.
had to battle back. And so like to me, obviously this is still a young core in terms of like the most important players. And I felt like last year it became an aspect of when they were facing big teams, like and in terms of competition level, like the better teams that they played on their schedule, they just didn't have the stamina to go the entire way and to like finish out games. And maybe they keep it close through 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, it would get out of proportion, and you'd see like a 12 to 20 point win, and it was like way closer than the scoreboard would tell you. This year, it's this is becoming the norm where it's like they'll go down, but by the end of the game, you're holding your breath because Michigan still has a chance to pull it off due to their ability to come back. And that's not and again, it's I don't know what to do with it because I don't
Mhm.
trust the first half Michigan, but then I see second half Michigan looking like a team that could beat anybody in the country. And finding that level of consistency, and I guess the truth lies somewhere in the middle. I don't know exactly what to do with Michigan in the immediacy right now in terms of my expectations because we've seen such varying degrees in these games, specifically against Vanderbilt and thinking back to that UConn game.
Yeah, and that's the thing where obviously we say this all the time where a lot of the critique is for the highest level of, what a team is
Sure,
capable of.
sure.
And so the takeaway is that obviously both of these teams are competitive with to this point anyone in the country.
Mhm, mhm,
And so that's where you are coming from in this perspective of like, yeah, for Michigan, they're going to continue to have a really
mhm.
great year. What is their actual ceiling? Where
Yeah,
will they
yeah.
end up? A lot of that depends on being able to get off to stronger starts, being able to kind of capitalize off of some of the performances that they've been able to find in times where they struggle. Like it
Mhm,
seems like sometimes they'll come out, they'll struggle some in the first half, and then they'll be able to find someone in as the game goes on, like, okay, that's who's gonna step up. Yesterday, it was Kendall Dudley. You have someone
yeah, she was
coming in
great.
for 24 minutes,
Mhm,
goes 8 of 10 from the floor, is
mhm,
tied for your leading scorer, and that's exactly what you need. But you then need to have enough coming from other sources. It
Mhm.
can't be you're solely relying on this one person. You just need a little bit more across the board in order to really have that be a boost, as opposed to just making up for the gap
Sure.
from
It
two of your
it doesn't
three
need
of
to
your
be a
other
lifeline.
starters
Yeah.
having single digit points.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, so I just again, like I have I mean, because if they play the way they do in the second half, it's easy to say, like, oh, if you just duplicate that to the first half, I mean, this game probably isn't even close. I mean, it's probably a double digit win for Michigan because I mean,
Mhm.
Vanderbilt was on the ropes for the heavy majority of that entire second half. They were on the ropes. It felt like, and you could tell the shift. And again, it's just a matter of how do you start better against the best teams? And I mean, you're certainly going to have your opportunities to go and test it out in the Big Ten with the way that these teams are playing right now, and one that we'll talk about soon in Ohio State as on top of your Iowas, Michigan State. I mean, like there's plenty of opportunities in the Big Ten to try and kind of iron this out. But again, like to me, that's where the youth just continues to show. And like,
Mhm.
and again, it's okay it's weird to balance because like I felt like going into this season we weren't like, oh, Michigan's a national championship contender, but then they
Mhm.
go and have the UConn game and it's like, well, hold on, where are they? And I think it's okay to potentially readjust the expectation a little bit more. To okay, yeah, this is still a very very young core, and it's
Mhm.
okay to like not be a championship contender this year, and it's not
Mhm.
like the end of the world. Obviously, they want to be, in terms of that, but again, it's I can't move past the starts of the big game. So it's like until I've given any new information, that is what Michigan is the slow start into the second half comeback. And
Mhm.
to me, that's something that scares me when you get into postseason basketball because again, I just the best teams aren't going to let you fully complete that. And it's a very, I mean, it's weird talking like this. I feel because when it's a 3-point game, but it's just so drastically
Yeah.
different from half to half, and it's just again, I don't know. I don't know what to trust with it, and it worries me with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, again, this is about the peak of performance and what you can kind of anticipate.
Mhm.
And obviously there's still a good bit of regular season
Sure.
left to play. And so there's a lot that can kind of be ironed out from there. Exactly
Mhm.
as you said, the Big Ten, you're gonna have a lot more opportunities
Mhm.
to go up
Mhm.
against elite competition and hopefully learn from it. But at the same time, like you can't sell out trying to say, well, we have to do everything in our power to start off stronger. Like
Sure.
we're only going to
Sure.
play our starters for the entirety of the first half so that we could go and try and mitigate that. It's like, no,
Mhm.
they're still a developing team
Yeah. Yeah.
overall. Just because they're very good and
Mhm.
they're performing well, that doesn't mean they don't still have a lot
Right.
of steps they can take, and that's what makes the future of them even more
Yeah.
scary to
Yeah.
think about.
100%. 100%. Yeah. And so I'm excited to see what I mean. Like I said, they when it comes to Big Ten play, I mean USC's on the schedule, Michigan State, Nebraska, UCLA, Michigan State, Iowa, Ohio State, Maryland. I mean they end the season home versus Michigan State, at Iowa, at Ohio State, home versus Maryland. So
Yeah.
you immediately get your postseason gauntlet to end the season, and that's not even including the games that are also just left in the Big Ten generally. There'll be plenty of opportunity for Michigan to go improve. Like if they drop out of the top 10 here or whatever happens in the rankings overall, like there's going to be plenty of time to battle their way back and show that they again, I mean, whether it's Elite Eight is this, the expectation, Final Four, whatever that might end up being by the time that we get to that point. Obviously, we have a long ways to go. So I'm excited by them, whether it's more growth for in the immediacy for this season and the expectation, or going into next year. Like, there's so much to be excited about this team, but until I get new information, deeming them not the two teams in two different halves, like that's what's going to be kind of burnt into my mind for Michigan.
For sure. All right, let's shift gears here. In the two games at the Coretta Scott King Classic,
Yeah.
they were decided by a combined 5 points. And so we had a 3 point game there between Vanderbilt and Michigan. And then the first game of the day, Ohio State and TCU,
Mhm.
2 point game. Another one, just really, really a good game. Certainly a lot to be learned about both of these teams.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people came in with a fair few questions about how they would perform, really the identities of these two
Mhm.
teams. And I think that we got perhaps more answers than I anticipated.
Sure.
I think that this is the kind of game that tells you a lot about both of these teams, and uh, I certainly come away very impressed with Ohio State, which we'll get into in a second. But for you, let's hear it. What were your thoughts, Con, on the game?
Well, to me, this was Ohio State, and another kind of similar to the Vandy point with Johnny Cameron has been phenomenal. I mean, just over the course of this entire season, and to see her struggle from the field shooting and Ohio State be able to pick up the win still is incredibly exciting. And to me, Ohio State's been a team overall that has just felt underrated this season. Like
Mhm.
they haven't really done much wrong to me. Like in terms, like as they just kind of slowly continue to build, and I think we're kind of seeing, uh, hopefully, for Ohio State, not the climax of that build, but like I think we're getting to like, okay, this is what the best version of Ohio State is going to be this year. I think they're on the right track for that, and but I am so impressed with only 8 assists, no turnovers
Mhm.
where the shots were not falling, but I didn't think she was taking bad shots. I thought she was being so impactful over the rest of this game. I was so impressed with that. I mean, obviously you have Chance Gray, who I mean, just were able to kind of fill in the gaps with the scoring in a whole lot of ways, right? And to me, Ohio State is so interesting because we know what the foundation of Ohio State is. It's the press, it's the defense. To me, in comparison to years past, like this isn't you don't have like those like true one-on-one lockdown defenders that maybe you had like in years past when like you think of a Celeste Taylor, for example, a JC Sheldon is another one that comes to mind. Like they don't have like that, so it's like okay, like it does that change what Ohio State is? No, and they did well with it. Like the press was phenomenal over the course of this game, and I mean I think both teams won the battles that they expected to win. In terms of Ohio State winning the turnover battle by 10, which is a massive margin, and TCU winning the rebounding battle by 10. But the turnovers just were so impactful over the course of this game. So to me, this was an incredibly balanced win for Ohio State while also staying true to like what Ohio State is as a program in the way that they have always played basketball, and that's with leading head first with their defense and their press. And I thought TCU is. Uh, I've struggled to like make a solid opinion about TCU over the course of this season because like they'll do good things and like they'll have good performances and Olivia Miles will go get triple doubles and she's been great and was impactful in this game in a whole lot of ways and a whole lot of the Olivia Miles ways we've grown accustomed to. There's just something a little bit off, and I haven't been able to like pinpoint it yet for TCU as to like what is stopping me from being like, okay, this team is on the caliber of LSU, Vandy, and those teams. Even and that's not even get into like really the top four. There's something that's been holding me back, and again, it felt like it reared its head in this game where it's like there wasn't able to, whether it's figuring out the press or figuring out what is the go-to. Like obviously the pick and roll spamming is what TCU does, and it works in a whole lot of ways. But it didn't fully kind of get rolling to me in this one in that way. And I don't know exactly what like the pivots are for TCU at times. And again, I'm still not 100% sure what it is that is like holding me back from like being like TCU is at this tier, like that is higher than what they are. But there's just something off with TCU that's holding me back from feeling that way.
So I obviously covered the Big 12
Yes,
extensively,
I would
and so
love to hear your thoughts on this because
I
I'm lost.
so number one,
Mhm.
this is something that I just thought was a pretty significant miss to not mention at all over the course of the day. I watched pregame, postgame, halftime show, and the broadcast.
Mhm.
To my recollection, I did not hear anyone mention Maddie Shear.
Mhm.
This is a starter for TCU who left the game injured against Arizona
Mm.
2 days before they played Ohio State.
Yeah.
And so she did not play. I don't know if and when she will play again this season, but I think that it's easy to look at numbers and say, well, yeah, she's a starter, but she plays 24 minutes. She
Mhm.
she only scores 5 points. She doesn't have a super high shooting percentage. So who really cares?
Yeah.
Number one, it's a starter. Like it's about
Sure.
your rhythm. It's about the consistency. That's going to make an impact regardless of what they do. But beyond that, she's just under 40% from the 3-point line. She doesn't have an absurdly high volume, but that's another shooter on a team that really relies on the fact that they have mismatches on the inside. They have that tremendous amount of height, and then they have the
Mhm.
playmaking from Olivia Miles. To have an additional shooter just means that it stretches the defense
Sure.
that much more. Even more than that, she barely ever turns the ball over. She has the highest offensive rating on the team for
Mm,
that reason.
mhm.
So just because it's not her that's making the flashy play every time, she's someone who I think does impact the game a lot. And not least of which, because to me, the thing that I always come back to with TCU is I just don't know about their depth of options because
Mhm.
they have
Mhm.
so much height. They went and they got some really great post plays, and they have some players that have a lot of intriguing potential to them eventually. You get Claire Bielefeld from Germany, who is a whatever she's listed at 6'4"
Feels like
guard.
everyone on this roster is at least like 6'3", it feels
Yeah,
like.
and I mean, and they say like she's truly a
Yeah.
guard.
Yeah.
She just isn't quite ready for consistent minutes
Mhm.
in the Division 1 game yet, and that's completely fine. But so then when one of your guards, one of your starting guards
Mhm.
goes out, that means that you have Olivia Miles and Donovan Hunter, who are both already in the starting lineup. You have Marta Suarez, who is a forward who has really great guard skills as well, but has her own set of responsibilities. And
Mhm.
then coming in off the bench, it just means that people are put into really different spots. You have
Mhm.
Veronica Sheffy, who's averaged 11 minutes per game. She's going to have to step up a lot more. She played 26
Mhm.
against Ohio State, and that's just really different. You were able before to bring Taylor Bigby as that spark off the
Yeah.
bench. She's into the starting lineup. And so I think that that is something that is going to be very impactful going forward. It mattered in this game.
Mhm.
But overall, to me, it's that you have uh there was just so much about the height, all these tall players.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be able to play them. I mean, you
It
have
doesn't.
one who just isn't quite ready
Yeah.
yet, who's a
Yeah.
freshman. You have some who do really similar things.
Mhm.
And then I just don't know that they have quite enough depth at the guard spot. And frankly, I think it puts a lot of pressure on Olivia Miles. I think
100%.
at times she can be baited into making poor
Mhm.
decisions. And that, I mean, again, that happens to everyone, but
Sure.
she's such a ball dominant guard out of necessity that when things kind of snowball, it can
Mhm.
snowball in a really big way. And so
Mhm.
I don't know that TCU has the full roster, has the full complement that they need to be
Mhm.
competitive at the very, very top
Sure.
tier. And that's part of what we saw with having that game slip away late is that,
Mhm.
man, they can really do a lot of things well, but over the course of 40 minutes, I think most teams at that upper tier are going to find the spots where
Yeah.
they can pick it apart.
Yeah. I completely agree across the board. And I think it's interesting because going into the season, you look up and down the roster and you see the sheer amount of height, and you're just like, this feels like there's a sense of like almost inevitability to the success because it's like when you have a certain degree of height in especially depending on who you're playing against, and like Ohio State isn't a team that has like super
Mhm.
big, like I to me like they win the rebounding battle in this, but like you didn't feel the dominance of height in,
Mhm.
in this game, and to me like that feels like kind of the natural pivot I would assume. Like if okay, pick and roll, it's getting predictable. Let's switch it up. Get in, like let's just use the height and like not to oversimplify it, but like it can kind of be that simple sometimes, depending on who you're playing. And I don't think I've really felt that
Mhm.
in some of these like more like bigger matchup games for TCU. I haven't really felt that in the way that I think preseason and when you're just looking up and down the roster that you would anticipate, whether it be defensively where it's just stifling or offensively where there is just a sense of inevitability where it's like you just kind of have to put your hands up and hope not to foul and they're able to finish over you. It, to the with the amount of hype this TCU team has, again, it just doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like that has that inevitability has been reached at any point. And to me, that's maybe that's what's missing for me is like we're coming in with that expectation, and maybe I should have been a bit more open minded about what the style was going to be. Maybe that's a me thing more than it is a TCU thing. But that's I guess more what I came in with, and when I pictured what this TCU team was going to play like, and I haven't felt that kind of dominant aspect, I guess,
Mhm.
when it comes to the amount of height they have.
Well, and I mean, I think too now to when they're going forward, what we're
Mhm.
going to see is just with people stepping into different roles
Sure.
because of having even fewer guards available to them. I mean, you look at it, and Marta Suarez has been kind of the key
Mhm.
point for them in a lot of this season where, yeah, people know that they have to guard Olivia Miles and they know they have to be able to defend on the inside. But
Mhm.
Marta Suarez has been the one who really has stepped up in a big way. And
Yeah.
in this game, I mean, she
Massive
was
struggles, yeah.
completely
Yeah.
nullified. They obviously they're keying in on defending her. She goes 0 for 4 from the 3. She only makes a bucket,
Yeah.
but 23 minutes and she has 9 turnovers. Part of that is being in a really different spot, in a really
Mhm.
different
Mhm.
role where a lot more is going through you
Sure.
because before it would go through Maddie Shearer, and Maddie wasn't someone who was going to take a high volume of shots. And
Mhm.
so now it's on Suarez to create more of her own shots, create
Mhm.
for her
Mhm.
teammates, try and relieve a little bit of the pressure off Miles, but that's just not really the role that she was in before. Obviously, Donovan Hunter doing some of that as well, but
Yeah.
you only have so many options, and so that's really going to be, I think, at times difficult for them to contend with, especially as we get into the postseason. They'll
Mhm.
have some time to figure that out. I mean, hopefully Maddie Shear is able to come back. Hopefully, she's okay.
Yeah.
Based on the reaction when she got carried off the floor of the game, and
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
I certainly am not anticipating like a quick return to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah.
But it's really tough, and part of that too is if you are a team that doesn't have a lot of height, what do you do to combat that? Well, you don't magically get taller. You
Yeah.
pressure the guards, you pressure
Yeah.
the perimeter. Who is in perhaps one of the best situations to do so? Ohio State. And so
100%.
this is kind of the encapsulation of nearly as tough as it can be
Yeah.
for TCU stylistically, but a lot of credit to Ohio State for doing so
Mhm.
because it's a lot easier said than done. They just made life really, really difficult, kept the offense really stagnant a lot of the time and then just scrambled when they
Yeah.
had to. You give up 15 offensive rebounds, but you don't let it bury you. I thought that was super impressive. And obviously, Elsa Limala, she's going to
Yeah.
be a
I was
force to be
impressed.
reckoned with over the
Mhm.
course of her career. I saw her early in the season and I thought, man, she she's really made some improvements.
Mhm.
Like she's been in the gym. And then by the time you get to this point, it's like, oh, yeah, no, like she really is contributing in a huge way.
Yeah. No, again, I leave here again, I think it's I don't know if I learned anything new about TCU. Like, I feel like it's like kind of like in a similar position as to where I was, but to me, it's more like it solidified where I was thinking Ohio State was going in terms of it felt like they were getting better. It felt like they were ready to kind of again. I don't know if anyone's gonna beat UCLA, but I'd be surprised if UCLA gets through the Big Ten undefeated, just on the basis of how some of these teams are surging right now, and Ohio State might be at the top of that list in terms of
Mhm,
where teams are going in the Big Ten. And so I'm incredibly impressed with what Ohio State's been able to build into this season, and again, going through a game with Cambridge not playing her best is and being able to win that means something, and I take
mhm.
a lot of stock in that and how players are able to impact, and I think with both these games, Ohio State and Vandy, I leave very impressed, even though it's close losses or close wins and close losses for the other teams. Like I feel like it these were very meaningful games, like to depending on what side you came out on in terms of again, very much projecting ahead when I'm in this frame of mind. But when you're in these close games against top tier opponents, how you finish matters. And I think
Mhm.
Vanderbilt and Ohio State both were able to finish these games out and do so in a very uh, impressive way that isn't the way that maybe you would anticipate them doing it if you were scripting it out before the game.
Yes, it's not just doing it the way that you've won every
Hmm.
other game
Hmm.
that season. I mean, Chance Gray obviously has been really good, but
Yeah.
just the level of efficiency that she
Yeah,
achieved in this
wild.
game to go 6 of 8 from three in any game is really impressive, but especially in a game where no one else was hitting consistently from
Mhm,
three, and they really needed it. And
mhm.
so certainly she was someone who was well worth being highlighted
Yeah.
significantly on the broadcast. Kevin McGuff obviously was really just hyping her up after the game
Mhm.
because, as you said, Ohio State's been probably underrated for a while, and a lot of their individual players are then even more so
Mhm.
underrated because it's not just a one person show. Jelani Cambridge has been great,
Yeah.
deserves more credit than she's been getting, but then what allows her to do what she does is the fact that they have other players that are able to on any given night really step up. That's what we saw from Lemela, from Gray, and then Kendi Cambridge obviously coming away with 4 steals like
Yeah.
that. That'll do something
That'll
for you
play.
as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm very, very impressed. Again, I think fantastic set of games between like these two. I mean, again, and I think we learned a lot just across the board between the four of these teams, and good or bad, maybe what we should be expecting going forward.
For sure. Let's hit really quick on a quick pair of other games that
Yeah,
occurred yesterday. For one, I believe, were you perhaps watching the maybe under the radar game of the day? I think.
absolutely. I had eyes. At least I had eyes in that fourth quarter because I saw the score and I was like, oh, what's going on here? Uh, Harvard gave them a run for their money, man. Harvard gave Princeton a run for their money. It was that last couple of possessions were, and especially regular, that was electric in that game. And look, it's been a rough year for Harvard. Like it's very much. I mean, injuries. Harmony Turner graduated. Like it is a natural rebuild. It's just across the board for them. But one, it's always gonna be chaos in the Ivy. Like the Ivy
Mhm.
is diabolical. But also just two incredibly well coached teams that like I wasn't surprised to see like Harvard making this a game. But again, just another winning matters, and like no matter how you get it done. And like to me, Princeton being able to go and fight that off and go and take it in OT matters. And look, with the way the rest of the nation's been going, I'm eyeing the top 16 for Princeton. I'm eyeing it. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but given the chaos surrounding them in the rankings, and obviously the AP poll is different from the NCAA top 16, but I don't want to see Princeton in March. I mean, like, which you could say pretty much any year with whoever comes out of the Ivy, but I don't want to see Princeton in March.
I can confirm from personal experience. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
not a team that you
yeah,
want to see
yeah.
in March. And there's obviously some holdover from last season. There's some really key additions to kind of
Hmm.
the rotation. But yeah, I think that's really the thing that, especially if you talk to coaches, is the Ivy League is just so difficult to play against, especially in the postseason,
Hmm.
because they are so well coached. When you have players who are Ivy League caliber students,
Hmm.
it means that you can do a lot of different things.
Yeah,
And so it's really difficult to game plan for a team that is so scheme dependent, but isn't dependent on just one scheme. Where it's not
yes.
that you're not gonna have one player who just is more athletic or taller or
Hmm.
simply a better shooter. It's like, no, they're going to run their stuff. They are going to play the game
Hmm.
as a group, and they're not going to do it in the same way
Yeah,
every single time. It's
yeah.
like, well, that's kind of built
Princeton, they can, they
to be
can,
successful in March.
they can again, I'll preface this with obviously the talent differential can is where it comes into play. But Princeton can out team just about anybody in the country in terms of the way they will play together as a team. There's not I can't think of many better in terms of
Mhm.
playing off each other. And obviously, like you have the talent differential, like when you're thinking about the tippy top, of the nation. But like I I mean, it's nothing new, frankly, with Princeton. Like this is what has made Princeton such a successful program, and you can say the same with Harvard a lot in years past. I mean, like again, it's just whoever comes out of the Ivy, like this is the staple of them. Like you don't want to play the Ivy League, you never do, because I mean, look, this whole team. I mean, 11 points, 19 points, 13 points, 14 points, 19 points. That's their starting lineup for Princeton. Just I mean, so well rounded, and again, they will team you to death.
Mhm.
You might not see a 35-point game, but they will team you to death. And I don't want to see Princeton anywhere on my side of the bracket. Absolutely not. So again, like, to go and get tested like this, to go and battle it out and make it to overtime, it matters. And this is a to me, it's a fantastic like experience for this team to go and get over the like for this season in particular. But also again, winning matters, and the fact I don't care what the other team's record is, especially when like this matchup has been one that has been circled on every Ivy League women's basketball calendar for the past couple of years. Like, this is a big game, and winning the big game matters, and being able to overcome it. I was very impressed with Princeton.
Yeah, I mean, look, the best teams are greater than the sum of their parts, and
Hmm.
perhaps no one does that better than
Mm.
the Ivy League. So,
Yeah.
for sure, an interesting one to take note of.
Hmm.
All right, really quick, we'll wrap up here with
Yeah.
the other kind of big highlighted matchup that had a great first half.
Mm.
We'll put it that way.
Mm.
Notre Dame and UConn. I said last week I didn't really anticipate this being super competitive. I was impressed with some of what we've seen from Notre Dame, just considering the fact that they are once again down to such a short rotation.
Mhm.
Continue to just have these nagging injury issues. They're down to a 6-player rotation again this season, and obviously have had some significant struggles, have had some pretty big successes. Even so, to take down North Carolina, that's kind of what we were talking about in this context of looking ahead to. Okay, they're going to play Louisville. Maybe they can give them a game. UConn, I
Mhm.
don't really
Mhm.
anticipate it. I mean, it just kind of bore out the way that anyone who has watched these teams probably saw it
Yeah.
happening. The depth that UConn has, the size, just the versatility. There wasn't a whole heck of a lot Notre Dame could do, and this was one of those games that I walk away and say, "Yep, that's what it is."
Yeah, I mean, frankly, it looked like the number one team in the nation that is undefeated playing an unranked team. Like, if you take away all the theatrics of the rivalry, which are deservedly so, obviously, given this rivalry, it went pretty much as you could predict. And
Mhm,
like, Hannah Hidalgo has, I mean, been incredible against UConn over the course of her career. The first time that they lost, I mean, like, it's frankly ridiculous how good Hidalgo has been against UConn. But when you're able to focus on one player in the way that UConn was able to, like, I mean, Gino said it after the game, and he felt like this was KK Arnold's best game at
mhm.
UConn, and like, deservedly. Look, if your assignment is to chase around Hannah Hidalgo and you do it as well as KK Arnold did, yeah, that's probably your best. I mean, like, I, prayers for whoever has to have that assignment every. I mean, just on any given night. I don't envy that person at all who has to go chase around Hannah Hidalgo. But like, I thought she was great because I mean, again, I'll say this in terms of like something to take away from UConn outside of like what we already know with UConn, which I again we know this is a team with depth. We know this is a team with size. Like, this is a team that can shoot the ball like at, like depending on who's going. But like, AZ Fug goes over 4 in this game, and I think it's to a degree important. Not that like it would have changed much if she was hitting shots, frankly. But also, like, it's a different experience for this UConn team to go and battle through and have other players step up, and I think that's important. Again, like, just like, it wouldn't have changed. You made a one by I don't know 50 instead. I don't know, like, but like, it's again to go and AZ have. I mean, still a great night overall, 7 to 13. But to go 0 for 4 from three, knowing you're probably not going to experience many of those, and to kind of
Mhm.
go and live through one of those in that way and have other players step up, I think is something that if we were to see this again down the line, we might be able to go back to this game and be like, well, you've already kind of suffered through it, if you will, and again, obviously didn't hurt him too bad in this one. And I mean, there's a lot. I don't want to be the big thing with me with UConn is not being bored by greatness, as much as you
Mhm.
can. Like, Sarah Strong was still ridiculous in this game, and this was like a slight Sarah Strong game, which is still 18 points, 11 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 blocks, and 3 assists. Like that, so like that could be considered a light Sarah Strong game,
Yeah.
which is ridiculous. But again, just incredibly impressed with the depth. I thought KK was phenomenal in this game, and her willingness to if you're gonna leave KK Arnold open. even just going 1 for 3, I think matters from deep and being able to. I think you're seeing an increase in the confidence, if not the percentage, and being able to like I am willing to go and take this shot if you are going to leave me open. And I think that could also be something that pays dividends down the road for this UConn team. But I mean, again, I didn't feel like I learned much new from this game because it's pretty much the Notre Dame that we expected, where you're going to be able to win basketball games because you have Hannah Hidalgo on your team and what the baseline that gives you. But UConn is a team that could certainly match that and defend that and handle all the others for Notre Dame while doing that. And it certainly made its way to that conclusion in this one.
Yeah, I mean, to have a day where UConn goes 6 of 24 from 3 and they were good shots. Quinones also came in off the bench and went 0 for 5. Like, I mean, that just isn't going to happen often. But then the way that they were able to get to the rim, when you look at Notre Dame, one of the obvious points of opportunity for opposing teams is that they, well, first of all, don't have very much depth, so they have to be careful with fouling, especially around the rim is such an easy place to get baited into fouling. And then they just don't have that tremendous level of height. They have some players with height, but again, they just don't have a wealth of options there. And so UConn, they go to the rim, they get inside the 3-point line at the very least, and they shoot 75% from the 2. And you know, that'll counteract a lot of struggles in shooting. And so just obviously impressive to have a percentage like that for such a great shooting team from the perimeter and still have such a dominant win. But again, kind of what you anticipate from UConn at this point, but not to have that be too normalized, not to not appreciate just how impressive that was. So man, heck of a Monday. Got a lot to live up to the rest of the week.
Absolutely. I get South Carolina here on Thursday, so that'll be something to go experience. We'll see how that goes.
I mean, it just doesn't slow down. Like the matchups that we have coming up are absurd. And fortunately, a little bit of a slower day today on Tuesday. And so we were able to dive into these ones on Monday, but it's coming fast and furious the rest of the week. So as Tyler mentioned, he'll be covering Oklahoma and South Carolina. There's all sorts of great. Oh, come on!
No, I'm excited. I'm excited. That was biased.
You're coming at me with that, please.
Look, we're in. It's not great for either of us right now.
You know, but it's women's basketball season, and that's great.
So I'm still having fun.
We're having so much fun. Folks, you can find Tyler online at Tyler DeLuca. You can find me at Jay Steyer. And most importantly, make sure you're following us at Her Hoop Stats, at Her Hoop Stats. Simple as that. Whatever social media platform you like to use. We've got all sorts of written content, obviously our daily podcasts every weekday. And we will be back with more of those throughout the rest of the week. So make sure you are subscribed, like, share, all that fun stuff. Thanks for hanging with us today. We will be back. The pod will be back tomorrow. The two of us will be back, whenever that may be, as usual. But appreciate y'all tuning in. Have a good one.